see. Yes, perfect. Okay. All right. Hi guys. I can see that we've got some students on here, and hopefully we'll have a few jump on in a little bit. But really, Casey and your guidance counselor, Siobhan, created this meeting just so that we could get to know each other a little bit and that y'all could see my face and hopefully feel confident when we start on Monday. I've worked with a lot of charter students before at the North Lincoln campus as well as the Lincolnton campus. And so I'm going to be sharing my screen for most of this meeting, just so that you can get comfortable with the course and feel familiar with how things are going to operate for us this semester. So let me see real quick here. I'm going to share. Okay. So this is not the section necessarily that you guys are in, but every single one of my English 112 courses look the same way. So just to give you a little bit of information first about me, when you open your Blackboard page, you're going to see here at the side, you've got a toolbar, and everything that you need is always going to be able to be accessed by that toolbar. And the first thing I'm going to talk about is my faculty information. So you can click on that third tab right there. And then one of the things that I want you guys to note is I do give you my personal telephone number. I'm not sure what experiences you've had with teachers in the past, but with COVID-19 going on, I found that was the best thing for students to have was immediate access if they needed it or if they had a question. So of course, there's my email, and you'll be getting a lot of emails from me, so it'll be really easy for you to figure out really quickly what that is. But here is my phone number. I do allow students to text and call me from 7:30 until 4 p.m. I don't make any promises that I will respond after 4 p.m. until the next day. However, if you really need me for something and you happen to text me, I'm more likely to text back after 4 p.m. than to call back after 4 p.m. Just because I do have a family. And so I try to find a little bit of a balance in between the two. But just a little bit about me. I am from this area. I grew up in Lincoln County. I went to high school at West Lincoln, and I graduated from there. And then I went off to North Carolina State University. After that, I went to East Carolina for my grad work. And then I actually was a remote student at East Carolina University. My husband was a military guy at the time. And so we were forced to move around a lot, and it forced me to go online. So I have a lot of experience being a student online and teaching online. And so I hope that gives you a little bit of comfort, just because I do understand the nuances of being a student and not just a faculty member. I know it can be challenging, and I know that it's even more challenging with COVID-19 going on. And then just outside of my academic life, I do have a family. I have a little girl named Adeline who is 3, and I have a son named JT who is 1. And then I have another son on the way who will be here in about 6 weeks. So we are really excited about that. And I live locally. I live in Cherryville. But I really am in Lincoln County all the time because that's where my entire family lives. So that's just a little bit about me. But I want to I hope that the contact information gives you some peace of mind. I try to make myself very accessible for you. I know that sometimes sending an email just doesn't feel like we have that one-on-one contact. And I know that's probably what you're used to at your school. And so if you want to pick up the phone and call me, I love to talk to students over the phone. I feel like it forms a relationship, but it also just gives you comfort that you can't get through an email sometimes. If you're someone who's more comfortable just shooting a text over, that's fine as well. And then also now we're also used to working with Zoom, that if you want to Zoom with me, we can set up a time to Zoom. The only thing I ask is that if you need to do it the next day, just shoot me a text the day before so that we can set up a time. I teach about 120 students. So just to make sure that I'm ensuring that I've got time, that I can fit you into my schedule the next day, try to schedule those Zoom sessions earlier, the better. So other than that, I want to show you just kind of how the course is going to run. So on Monday, by Monday morning at 8 a.m. and maybe even a little bit earlier, you are going to see this screen right here. And the one thing that you can rely on every single week is on Sunday night or on Monday morning, you are going to get this little announcement. And it won't always have a picture. This is just for the first one, but you're going to have an announcement here that will kind of run through what we're going to be going through that week. And it'll help you navigate what due dates you have that week, the concepts that we're going to be going over that week. If there's anything that I saw that was happening the week before, like you weren't responding to discussion boards or a lot of people didn't get their work in, then I'll address some of those issues. But this is kind of how I start off each week so that you just have a clear understanding of what those expectations are as you come into the week. So the other thing that you need to know is right here on course information, this is where you can find everything that you need for the course. There's a syllabus, a schedule, and course requirements, and that's what I'm going to be going over today. But this is available to you throughout the entire semester. And then underneath that, of course, is my faculty information, which I showed you earlier. And then probably the most important thing that you will need to know from this meeting is this little tab here called weekly assignments. And this is what I tell my students that we live and die by. As many of you know, with the course information, with the schedules change. I try really, really hard to stick to what I told students we were going to do from day one. But as we know, life happens. I came down with COVID last semester. That created some changes in the schedule. The power outage from last semester took out my home power for a week. So that created some changes. But this is the thing that you can rely on no matter what. So each week, you're going to get a weekly folder that will be available to you. Sometimes I will open the next week a little early for those of you that like to get started on your work early, or you're like, oh, Mr. Pre, I'm going out of town for spring break to see somebody. Is there any way I can get my work early? And I'll release the folder. I have no issue with students working ahead of time. I have an issue with them falling behind just because this is a quick course and we have so much to cover. Then I want to make sure that you are getting all the information that you need, and that basically that you're getting assignments in on time, because everything builds upon the last assignment. So if you look at this first week's folder, this is what you're going to see on Monday. And if I can go into student preview and it'll show you exactly how it's going to look for you. So this is what you're going to open up and see. And every week I will have this sentence that talks about the objectives that we're going to cover that week. And then underneath that is the homework due dates. So you can always rely on this schedule right here. This talks about every single assignment we're going to cover, exactly what's due, and even the time that it's due. So it's really important that you get comfortable with this tab underneath course content, because that's really what you're going to live and die by all semester. And then if you click on that folder, this is kind of what a weekly lecture looks like. So as you can see, I have all of my notes right here. And then typically every week I do a video lecture. Sometimes they're 20 minutes, sometimes they're an hour long. It just depends on what I needed to really cover. For this particular for this particular week, this one is only 13 minutes, but I'm getting ready to add an additional video that's about 40 minutes long that essentially is going to be going through the nuances of what we're going to cover throughout the entire term. And it goes through how to navigate this course as well. And then after the lecture notes and the videos, I'll always have what I expect you to read at the bottom. And then your assignments are directly below that lecture. And I try to do that so that there's no question of what you have due. You're not searching for any assignments. I try to keep everything really organized in that particular week so that you're not having to exit out and go through a lot of different tabs. So that's what your weekly folders are going to look like. I'm going to exit the preview now. So the next thing that I want to show you are your course reading materials. So this is essentially, these are the handouts and some of the more major assignments, like your essay assignments. These are the things that you're going to have to refer back to multiple times in a semester. So it's not just for that week. Maybe it's an essay that we're covering for 3 weeks or for 4 weeks. Maybe you have a question about MLA format. You need a little bit of a refresher. This is the folder that you will come to find all of that information. And I will specify that each week in the weekly folder. If you have a particular essay, I will say, make sure you go to your course reading materials and the essay information, and you'll find your handout there. But I just wanted you to be aware of this as you start picking up your assignments and navigating through the course. And then discussion board, you have a tab here. And clearly you can see that I have the discussion boards for each week. However, you do not have to go to the discussion board tab because I link these directly in your weekly assignments. So that way you're not searching, you're not wondering which one you're supposed to do. It's going to be right there in that weekly folder. And then the last thing I want to show you is this little tab, your ebooks and materials. So these are the 2 ebooks you have. We're really fortunate where you do not have to buy a textbook. You have your launch pad and current issues and enduring questions. If it comes from this book, I will actually have those pages linked within the weekly folder where you have direct access to it, which is really nice. But if it comes from the Everyday Writer, unfortunately, I have to put the page numbers for you to go find. For some reason, this particular e-text does not directly link to Blackboard. There's some kind of incompatibility issue, but I will have specific pages like I showed you on that weekly assignment lecture so that you can come in, click on it, and then you can go directly to those pages. So that's kind of just an overview of the course navigation. Just how the course is going to operate. But again, the most important thing for you to know is this weekly folder. Again, each week you'll know what objectives we're covering, the homework assignments that are due. And if you click on that folder, you will have all of the lecture notes, the lecture videos that we're going to be going over, and then direct access to each assignment that's due that week. So once you complete everything in that folder, you're done for that particular week. And I think I mentioned this earlier, but those will either be available to you on Sunday night or very early on Monday morning for each week. So the next thing that I want to go over, let me minimize this a little bit. And then new share. So this is your course syllabus. And again, you can find this in your Blackboard under course information. And I'll be going over all of this the first week of class as well in my welcome video that you'll be watching. But just to briefly kind of go over it, here's my instructor information. And all of this is also located in the faculty page. And then preferred method of contact, you are welcome to call, text, or email me. I respond very quickly by phone. I will respond through email within 24 hours. Typically, it's a lot quicker than that. I check my email multiple times a day. But if you need something quick and you want a response within the hour, I would recommend that you shoot me a text or give me a phone call. And then the only thing that I cannot talk to about over a text message are your grades. When it comes to grades, it either needs to be a phone call that you and I have, or it needs to be an email. And that's just due to FERPA concerns, which we'll talk about later on. And then here's the course description and then what you can expect to learn. And again, each week on your weekly folders, I'll recognize which objectives that we're going to be covering that particular week. And then this is a completely online course. I'm sure you guys know that. There's no face-to-face. For the lectures and the videos, those are going to be put into your Blackboard each week for you to look at whenever's most convenient for you. I do not expect you to come to class on Zoom at a particular time. To me, students take online courses because they need that flexibility. So I try to ensure that I'm honoring that for you guys and for your individual schedules. And then technology requirements and Microsoft 365, this is all really important. Please make sure you have access to an internet connection. This is an online course. We've got to make sure you've got access to that. You will need Microsoft 365. That means Word, PowerPoint, Excel. And the great thing, and I go over this the first week of class in my welcome video, you have access to that for free through your Gaston student email account. So I'm not sure what the school gives you access to, but you do have access to that for free through your Gaston email account. So it's really important that you make sure that you log on to that account and that you know how to log on to that account. Really, you need to do that before Friday of this week so that you can download those programs. And then I know a lot of us use various tools to be able to access Blackboard, but I will tell you, Chromebook can sometimes not be compatible with Blackboard. Sometimes it will not show a certain video or it will not show a certain discussion board. So just make sure that if you're typically operating off of a Chromebook, that every now and then you're checking on another computer, or if something's not looking right, reach out to me and say, hey, Mr. Pre, am I missing something here? And oftentimes I'll say, yep, are you operating on a Chromebook? You may not be able to see that. So just something to keep in mind if you're somebody who uses one of those often. We don't use Respondus in this course, so I'm not going to stress that. But one thing, and again, I iterated this a little bit ago, just make sure that you know your GC ID, your password for general computer access, WebAdvisor, Blackboard, your student email. And if you don't know those things, then you'll need to call our Tech Resources Center. They're wonderful people over there. You can click on this and have access to that phone number and give them a call so that you can make sure you have access to that. And then class attendance and policy and participation. I'm going to briefly go over this, but I'll go over it more extensively when you begin next week. So a few of the things that you need to know for an online class, you really need to be on Blackboard, checking your email daily, at least every other day. I tell students, one of the things I really recommend is that you get online on Monday morning or Monday at lunch, whatever your schedule allots. And then you take a look at what that week is going to look like for you. Do you have a long lecture that week? Do you have a discussion board due that week? Do you have a paper due that week? And that will help you kind of plan how you need to navigate that particular week for that course. My class policy, so there are 3 major writing assignments, and we're going to go over those more extensively next week. But if you do not turn in one of those major writing assignments, I do withdraw you from the course. At that point, there is no way for you to pass the course because it's a building block for one another. And then if I do not see you in attendance, which means you're not participating for a week, I will be reaching out through a VSO and to your guidance counselor and saying, hey, so-and-so hasn't logged in a week. They're falling pretty far behind. If you have not participated in 2 weeks, there's a very good chance that that you have not done one of those major writing assignments. And so I'll withdraw you at that point. However, at 21 days, I no longer have an option to work with you. I will have to withdraw you at that point because you've exceeded Gaston's policy at that point.
I just want to interrupt there for a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I see that you're probably about to talk about the withdrawal date for 22.
Yes.
If we are past the withdrawal date and you are withdrawn from the class, you get an F. An F will show up on your transcript. I just wanted to make a note of that.
Yes, thanks so much, Casey. And as far as tardiness for homework, I do not accept late homework. For major essays, I allow you up to 3 days. And those were those assignments that I was saying that if you miss one, then I withdraw you from the course. And by that point, I will have already reached out to your guidance counselor. There will have been an aviso alert. There will have been multiple different opportunities where I've tried to reach out to you, call you, email you, text you. But I offer 3-day grace periods for those. But for discussion boards and homework assignments, I don't accept those late. Now, let's say you came down with COVID or there's an extreme circumstance. I'm always willing to work with students with extreme cases. However, this is a college course, and so I do hold you responsible for planning and for making sure that you're allotting time to do your work. If you have a basketball game, that won't be an excuse. Or if you had plans with your friends that weekend, that's not an excuse. But for major circumstances and life events that were unexpected, I'm always willing to work with those. And then just to point out what Casey said, the last day that you can withdraw from this course is April 22nd. And after that, you will receive an F. And that's really unfortunate for students who work really, really hard all semester and then something happens and they just slack off towards the end. I hate how much it affects you guys because at that point, my hands are tied and I have no control over that. So just please make sure you keep that date in mind, and I'll remind you as it gets closer so that you can make the best decision for your situation. And then the breakdown of this course, there's going to be lecture reflections, reading reflections. You do have a final presentation as your final exam, and that will be a recorded PowerPoint, and we'll talk more about that as the semester goes on. Homework and then major essays, and then as you can see, the breakdown is right there. Right here, I do want to note this: your major essay assignments, that counts for 40% of your grade. So that's why I say if you miss out on those, the chances of you being able to catch up at that point, especially because they build on one another, it's a very, very slim chance. And then it's a very typical grading scale. 90 to 100 is an A, 80 to 89 is a B, a C is 70 to 79, a D is 60 to 69, and then an F is anything below a 60. And then I've already gone over my makeup policies. I do want to note those major assignments that I accept up to 3 days late. I will deduct 10 points for each day. So essentially you lose an entire letter grade for each day that you turn in that assignment late. And then for viewing grades, I'm a fairly quick grader. I try to keep up with those week to week. A lot of our assignments build upon one another. And so I typically get those back to you very quickly so that you can understand what you did wrong for the next assignment. Major essays can take up to 10 days. And the reason for this is because I leave extensive feedback. It typically takes students 30 to 40 minutes to go through my notes. I do that so that it's a learning process for you and so that you know what to do for the next time. And then we're going to go over the course outline and schedule after this. And then final exam information. Your final exam will be due on May 6th at 4 p.m. And that's going to be a narrated PowerPoint. And again, we'll go over that as the term goes on. And then here is some really, really important information I want to be sure to cover. First of all, just personally, I want you to know that it's my desire to see you succeed in this course. I want to see you do well. I want to hear what your goals are. I want to help you meet those goals. But what that requires is that you and I communicate. It breaks my heart when I have a student that at the end of the semester comes to me and they were like, I had this, and this going on, and that's why this happened. And it kills me because I wish I would have known earlier so I knew how to better support them. So I want to make sure that we stay in constant communication. But at the same time, I want you to understand that this is a college course, and that means that the expectation is that you are a college student. That means that you have to make this course a priority, and it means that you have to ensure that you're planning in advance to be able to do the work that's required. Another thing that is really important, if you have COVID-19, if you've been exposed to COVID-19, if you are caretaking someone who has COVID-19, you need to immediately email this email account. It's vpstudentaffairs@gaston.edu. What this does is this allows me to work with anything that you need. It allows that if for some reason you'd be hospitalized, we can flex that 21-day rule. It allows me to give you an incomplete if that's what we need to do. But I cannot, I cannot break my syllabus policies if you do not email this email account. So it's really, really important that you take note that if you are one of those people, and unfortunately we're living in a time when that's very frequent, you need to email this person immediately so that we can start that direct line of communication. And I would also recommend that you CC your academic advisor in with that, as well as Casey, just so that we can all stay in the loop and work together to provide you what you need. And then just policies, procedures, best practices. I'm going to go over this very briefly because a lot of this is information that I'm going to go over next week that's not as pivotal for you to know right now. If you are having any issues with registration, problems with your records, here's the phone number and the email for you to contact. You have a right for me to provide the information that you need so that you can learn and grow as a student. And you have a right for classes to end and begin on time, AKA those weekly folders, that your assignments are graded and that we're going to use the course text and that these activities are going to adhere to what you're supposed to be learning. Early alert, that's a VSO. I use that very frequently. If I see students are falling behind, if I see that they are struggling, if I see that they're absent a lot, I alert that a VSO so that it goes to the right people to help you be successful. And then Student Emergency Assistance Program. This is a great number if you find yourself having trouble with some of the basic financial needs that you or your family have. That's a great resource for you to reach out to. And then the Student Outreach Services Program, again, all services are available for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Here is a phone number. And then there's also a portal that you can go to as well. Behavior policies. I don't have to worry about this a lot because we are online, but one thing that I do want to cover is we do discussion boards where we work with one another and we talk with one another. We will be discussing social topics in this course, and that's part of the research that we're going to be doing. So the only thing I'm really going to hit on is essentially if we all respect one another and we use respectful internet etiquette and language over those discussion boards, then there's not going to be an issue. I really have not had many issues with this. Most of my students work really well together and are really respectful. And so that's essentially where I draw the line, is just respect one another, respect one another's opinions, beliefs, and values. And then it becomes a non-issue. And then academic dishonesty. I do have a zero tolerance policy for plagiarism. I will be very upfront with you. I run every single assignment that you do through Safe Assign. And so it immediately comes back to me if you've copied and pasted from the internet or from an academic source or from another student's paper. I unfortunately had a case last semester where a student used another student's essay from a previous class. And it was one of my colleagues, and WebAssign actually populated that. It showed me where it came from, and I had to reach out to that colleague to confirm, and those people unfortunately were turned into the department chair. So I like to avoid that. Just the bottom line is do your own work, and if you are finding trouble doing your own work, reach out to me so that we can work together and that doesn't ever become an issue. And then building rapport, here's what I'm going to ask. If you have an issue, or if there's something you're not understanding, or if you were like, oh my word, she is not responding quick enough, I would ask that you give me the privilege by calling me or texting me or emailing me and saying like, hey, I need more from you. And I will be more than willing to do more. But of course, if that doesn't happen, or if I fall off the radar for 3 weeks, which will never happen, but on the extreme case it does, here is my department chair's contact information as well as my dean. I just ask that you give me the courtesy of us having a conversation before anything like that would occur. And then ADA, if you have a disability, I'm sure at this point your guidance counselor knows, but just make sure that y'all are filing that with who we need to know that information at Gaston. And all of that information is located right here in the syllabus so that I can make sure that I'm providing you with the resources or the extra time or whatever you need to be able to be successful in this course. And then electronic devices, we don't have that issue because we're not face-to-face on campus. And then here's campus security information. Again, you won't need that for my class, but if you do need it in the future, that is available to you. And then the last thing that I do want to go over is, let me share my screen again, this course schedule. And again, this is in course information under your Blackboard. This is a very loose schedule. Again, I want to reiterate what you're going to live and die by is that schedule that's on those weekly folders that you'll have access to every week. But here is a week by week with the dates. It's what we're going to be going over, and it's your assignment due dates as well. One thing that I do want to note is right here at the bottom, I do want to go over this with you in person. Students, while I do my best to adhere to the schedule in place, there are times when life happens and adjustments must be made. Please know if I make schedule changes, it is for your success. If this must happen, I will make an announcement and I will upload an updated schedule with new due dates and notes. Please note that most of your homework is going to be due on Wednesdays and Sundays. However, there are a couple times when your work will be due on a Friday, such as week 3, to ensure I have adequate time to give you feedback before a major deadline. I would encourage you to keep the schedule printed out or make notes in your calendar so you can keep up with those due dates. All discussion boards typically require a response. However, occasionally there will be notes that say no response required. Unless you see this notation, you can always assume that your response is due by the end of that week, which is Sunday at 11:59 p.m. Each discussion board will have instructions that indicate what you will have to do that particular week, and I would encourage you to read them thoroughly. This is the most important thing. Make it an academic habit to glance through your weekly folder on Monday mornings. By glancing through that weekly folder, skimming the discussion board, etc., you will be able to plan how much time you need for your weekly assignments. Some weeks are heavier than others, and I do not want to catch you off guard if your discussion board requires more work that particular week. So get in the habit of creating a plan of action each Monday morning. This will help you be more successful and create less stress throughout the course. So I hope all of that was helpful. I hope you feel like you've got a better handle on what we are going to be doing this semester. Carly, Zachary, do either one of you have any questions? Siobhan, Casey, do either one of you have any questions for me?
I have no questions. Everything was thorough. Thank you for that. Hopefully, the kids understood everything. If they have any questions, now is the time to ask them or email her or place them in the chat box.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't have any questions. I thought it was pretty self-explanatory.
Okay, awesome. It's nice to meet you, Carly. I'm looking forward to having you next week.
Thank you. It's nice meeting you too.
Zachary, do you have any questions? Do you feel good about everything?
No, ma'am, I don't have any questions.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Casey, anything you want to add before we sign off today?
No, I don't have anything to add, but thank you for your time today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I look forward to seeing you guys.
Logan?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, I do have a quick question before the kids leave. So in the past, we've gotten alerts from Casey, and I'm assuming the professors let her know, and then she let us know if kids are not logging on daily.
Okay.
Can you briefly explain that, and how does that impact them, or is that something that they could be withdrawn from the course if they're not logging in 8 days or so?
Absolutely. I would love to answer that. So I do not give daily alerts, mainly because I do not have due dates every single day. But what I do is at the end of the week, when I am looking, basically what I'll do is on Monday mornings, I go through my grade book and I see who turned in assignments and who did not turn in assignments that week. And at that point, I will send an Aviso email through the Aviso system. And Casey, are you getting those? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, so I get alerts for Lincoln Charter students who the 8-day login thing, that's an automatic thing that the system generates.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the ones that you generate, if you put a note, the email, I get those as well. It just comes to my email too.
Great. So there you go, Siobhan. So she will actually be alerted through 2 different systems. She'll be alerted through the Blackboard system that naturally occurs, and then she'll get an Aviso alert from me, but also the students will get an email from me as well. And I will send them an individual email that says, hey, I've noticed you didn't turn in your assignments. You're at this many days. If I see that you do not participate by this day, then you will be withdrawn from the course. So at that point in time, they'll essentially be getting 3 different alerts from 3 different sets of people, if that makes sense. I will tell you, Siobhan, when I do withdraw a student, it is no surprise to them. At that point, they have been contacted so many times and through so many different sources that it's no shock to anybody when we get to that point.
So the important thing I wanted to mention here is the alerts go to their Gaston College student email account. And so that's why sometimes they're like, oh, well, I didn't get anything, because they don't know to really check that email. So that's why we're pushing, check your Gaston College email, check your Gaston College email.
Yes. And I will say the Aviso alerts, I actually send those. Of course, Casey will get those, but I actually send those emails through their personal and their Gaston. So there is no question at that point if they should be receiving the email or not.
Got you. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a good question. Any other questions? Okay, well then I will stop the recording